the most outstanding publisher, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Dante A. Ang, the Chairman Emeritus of the Manila Times. The most outstanding publisher will be conferred by no other than the Chief Public Attorney of the Republic of the Philippines, Dr. Persida V.Rueda-Acosta, DSD.
I have accepted this invitation to speak before you today on the occasion of the 7th MCLE Accredited National Convention of Public Attorneys with trepidation. Ever since I have stepped down some years ago from actively running our newspaper, I have made myself scarce and avoided public engagements until now. I simply couldn't say no to my dear friend, Chief Public Attorney Dr. Persida V.Rueda-Acosta. Public Defender par excellence. Subok sa tibay, subok sa tapang. I congratulate Dr. Acosta and the members of the Public Attorney's Office for your outstanding service to the country. You have displayed remarkable dedication, humility, and empathy in defending the dispossessed and the oppressed. You have shunned the glitter of gold and the trappings of power in pursuit of helping others. You have helped flesh out the spirit of what the late President Ramon Magsaysay once said: "He who has less in life deserves more in life." I take my hat off to you all for your dedication and selflessness. May those in government follow your shining example. I am reminded of Luke chapter 10, verses 25 to 37, and I quote, "And behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tested him, saying, 'Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?' He said to him, 'What is written in the law? What is your reading of it?' So he answered and said, 'You shall love the Lord your God with your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself.' And he said to him, 'You have answered rightly. Do this and you will live.' But he, wanting to justify himself, said to Jesus, 'And who is my neighbor?' Then Jesus answered and said, 'A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest came down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Likewise, a Levite, when he arrived at the place, came and looked, and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. So he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouting on oil and wine, and he set on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day, when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said to him, 'Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, when I come again, I will repay you.' So which of these 3 do you think was neighbor to him who fell among thieves?" And he said, "He who showed mercy on him." Then Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." The P.A.O lawyers are the present day's Good Samaritan, doing God's work on earth, tending to the poor, the underprivileged, and the oppressed. May the good Lord give you the strength and to slay the hydra-headed monsters in our society that prey on the innocent, the poor, and the helpless. As the old cliche goes, your reward is not on this earth. The P.A.O lawyers are the unsung heroes of today. I am humbled to be in the presence of the unsung heroes. In this world, there will always be a great economic and social divide between the poor and the rich. That is a fact of life. And that's how God, in all His infinite wisdom, created the world, a world of prey and predator, of oppressors and oppressed. But God also gave us hope. Everybody talks endlessly about the crippling poverty and the ubiquitous corruption in our society. But while this is perhaps the greatest concern of our people, and has been for as long as any of us here can remember, our leaders, high and low, elected and appointed, do nothing about it. Ironically, many of our leaders are demonstrably corrupt. Together with some unscrupulous businessmen, they corner multi-million peso government projects that are clearly and patently overpriced. In many cases, these shenanigans engage in ghost deliveries or under-deliveries. Corruption is one of the main reasons why our country remains destitute despite our many talents. Corruption also impedes the growth of business and stunts progress. Money that could have gone to promote and develop businesses goes to the pockets of corrupt government officials and their equally corrupt complicit in the private sector. Under-the-table payments are made before documents or requests are processed. Even ordinary or simple transactions are not spared. As a result, people have grown tired of complaining and have accepted the bitter truth that they have to dance to the music if they want to do transact business with the government. Every election cycle, candidates talk of the pervasive corruption, of poverty, and of the need to eradicate societal ills. Yet, once in office, it is business as usual. But what is more disturbing is that people have accepted corruption as a way of life, or worse, as part of our culture. What has gone wrong with our morals? We were taught by our parents to be good, law-abiding citizens, to love and respect one another, and that success is not measured by money alone. We were taught to we were taught to reject and identify with the good. Yet corrupt officials and shadowy businessmen are feted and honored instead of being publicly shamed and ostracized. Some shadowy officials or politicians are even elected to office. Is our culture really damaged? Let's talk about a subject close to your hearts. You are all lawyers. You are full of idealism. That is why you are with P.A.O. There is no money in P.A.O. As well-educated and skilled attorneys, you could choose lucrative jobs, yet you are here in the company of the poor, the oppressed, and the voiceless, advancing the cause, protecting them from the machinations of the rich and the powerful. In an ideal world, what is legal should also be moral. Ironically, in the real world, what is legal may not be moral, and what is moral may not be legal. Fact is, and my apologies to the courts, our courts are littered with cases whose proceedings were tainted by corruption. But the law, being the law, once a decision is handed down, we are bound to respect it, regardless. Sorry na lang sa aggrieved party. Such is the irony of our judicial system. But isn't it our legal system moored on morals? So how come in politics and in our judicial system, too often you are faced with what are passed off as legal, yet are patently immoral cases? Where should the loyalty of the lawyer be, legal or moral? Lawyers have a sworn duty to defend the accused. Article 3, Section 2 of our 1987 Constitution says, and I quote, "No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied equal protection of the laws." In prosecuting or defending a client, what are the lawyer's obligations to his client and to the law? Are bending the facts, or falsehoods, or outright lying part of a lawyer's duty to his client? One common refrain I hear from lawyers whose list of clients includes criminals is that it is the judge who determines the guilt or innocence of the accused. As a result, some lawyers take that as a license to bend the truth, lie, or even manufacture evidence in support of his client. If the lawyer knows that his client has manufactured evidence or is lying, how should he proceed to handle the case? In defending a client, after unraveling the truth, would he advise his client to bear all and plead guilty as charged? Or should he go along with the lie, bend the facts, obfuscate, and go for acquittal? And failing in that, stretch the hearings of the case indefinitely until the plaintiff gets tired and decides to drop the case altogether, or settle or wait until a new friendly judge takes over the case. On the other hand, knowing fully well that the evidence against an accused was patently manufactured, should the lawyer still handle the case to prosecute an innocent man? You must have encountered manufactured cases filed by malicious plaintiffs armed only with money, connection, and power against unsuspecting innocent defendants who continue to languish in some dirty cell even despite retractions by state witnesses. Whether prosecuting or defending, more than the law, the lawyer's paramount duty is to uphold the truth. What then is the truth? Who defines the truth? Truth, they say, is the opposite of falsehood. Truth is the bedrock of justice. Absent the truth, there can be no justice, only injustice. Justice is served when the truth is upheld. Whether prosecuting or defending, the lawyer is bound by his oath to uphold the truth though the heavens may fall. Truth should be consistent with the law, and the law should also be consistent with the truth. For justice to prevail, both the law and the truth must be in harmony with each other, like a symphony. Otherwise, if the law and the truth do not rhyme, there will be falsehood and injustice. Yes, our judicial system may be deeply flawed, but it certainly is not hopeless. Yes, there are hoodlums in robes, as well as corrupt lawyers, prosecutors, and businessmen who rob the Filipino blind and heap injustice on the poor, on the people. Yes, almost always these corrupt government officials get off the hook or are acquitted by the equally corrupt prosecutor or judge. But there remains an abundance of lawyers, prosecutors, and members of the bench whose moral compass are demonstrably unshakable, and this is what gives us hope. In closing, I urge you to consider what is moral and keep justice anchored to truth as you carry out your important work for your people and our nation. This you have done faithfully, and I have no doubt at all that you will continue to do so. That is why, despite the problems and challenges we face, I say that where there is P.A.O, there is hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Dr. Dante A. Chairman Emeritus, the Manila Times, as outstanding publisher. We will always remember your message, Dr. Ang.